Okay.
Oh, hang on, we've already got the holding slides, or do we need the other ones?
Which slides was she referring to?
The ones that say mental health and well-being.
Yeah, I think that's what's her name?
Is that the main end circle as opposed to students?
So should I be sorry guys, I'm not with it today. Should I be
okay.
Should I be putting anything up on my screen?
Do you have the slides?
Yeah, can you share the slide that I sent you earlier?
Yes.
Please, thank you.
Just opening.
No worries. Can you just let us know when you start letting people in, if you don't mind?
Mm-hmm. Great, I don't understand. How can I oh, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay.
So who opened it? Who's the host, and can you? Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Am I the host?
I think I've got it actually.
Okay.
Sorry about this. Okay, I don't know why it's
okay.
Guys, I'm really sorry. I can't get this to do it.
No worries. Maybe just start letting people in.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, everyone.
No worries.
It's now not it's saying I can promote to panelist, or I can start a chat with people.
Rebecca, have you ever hosted from your side? In terms of like the technical stuff?
Yes. So I think what happens is that people just start joining. So I think so far we have 2 attendees.
Okay.
Okay, I think we should start at 6:05, just waiting for a few more attendees to join in.
No problem.
I think we expect more people to join as we continue the webinar. I don't know, Maria, if you want to get started.
No problem. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the latest session of Encircle Mentoring. The topic we will be covering today is well-being and resilience. My name is Maria Kerr. I work for Impacts Asset Management in London, and I'm based within the Private Equity and Infrastructure Department. Today we have two wonderful mentors for you, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves. I don't know who would like to go first. Rebecca, maybe?
Okay, I'll go first.
No worries.
Good evening, all. My name is Rebecca O'Danton. I currently work at Man Group as a middle office analyst, and I've been working in Man Group for about 5 years now. I started off as an apprentice straight from college at the age of 18, about 2016. I did my apprenticeship for 1 year. And then after that, I've just been kept on, and then I've been working at Man Group for a total of 5 years now. Thank you.
Everyone, my name's Andrew Josiemi. I currently work at a company called Rare Recruitment, where we help people like yourselves who are listening today get top jobs in investment banks and corporate law firms. Started off my career working in an investment bank. After 5 years, I decided I wanted to be a TV producer. So I left and created some TV shows. My most popular TV show is called Meet the Adibanjos, which you can watch on Netflix. I'm just here to help and give as much advice as possible.
Thank you both. So I would first like to start off the session with the question, what does well-being mean to you? Rebecca?
So firstly, well-being kind of means to me being able to take care of yourself, and not just your mental state of mind, but also your physical state of mind, things that attribute to you having a good maybe work-life balance or good balance of whatever it is you're doing. So whether maybe for you guys, it will be studying and your normal life balance. So I think well-being to me kind of means like being able to maintain a stable mind as you're going through various mountains or various things throughout your life.
Thank you. And Andrew?
Yeah, that's the same, very similar to me, like well-being is, when I hear well-being, I always think about taking care of your well-being, take care of your mental health. That's very, very precious. So well-being means going on holiday, getting away from the kids and the family. That's what it means to me.
Let's not let the kids hear you say that. Family holidays. Okay, let's have a look. So resilience, grit, mental toughness are words often used in the financial services industry. What do these mean to you?
So resilience and grit, it means many things. First of all, it's around firstly trying to get into the industry. So you're going to need a lot of resilience and grit. You know, it's very competitive. So very, you know, pays a lot of money, or is a higher than average paid job. So it's going to be very competitive getting into the industry. So you have to have a lot of resilience and grit. That may be going through multiple applications, many rejections. So you have to be resilient and you know, and have a lot of grit to get through that. And then once you get into the industry, it's about having resilience and grit to be able to deal with any rejections or any what you call maybe imposter syndrome when you actually start working in a firm, you know, finding your voice, like adding value to your team, and then trying to get to the next level in your firm. So it's one, trying to get into the industry, you need to be resilient, but also when you're in the industry, you also need to be resilient as well.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Andrew more, you know, being able to come into the industry and be resilient. And I think a lot of people look at the word resilient and think that, oh, it may mean being aggressive, or may mean, you know, you're too ambitious, but resilient just means really overcoming everything that comes your way. So whether it be rejection into the industry, or whether it just be finding your way into your firm, that's what it means to me. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. 1 second. And how do you guys personally build upon your own resilience within the workplace?
So how I build on my resilience within the workplace is just by having time to myself and being able to think through the different processes that I've been given, to also take time away, take time to think, because sometimes you need to just have a thorough thought process before you go ahead and push something. And how I also build on my own personal resilience is by not allowing my mind or my mental state to take over a particular decision, or to allow it to hinder me in any sort of way. I kind of just push through it as best as I can.
And Andrew?
For me, I mean, I guess this is a bit of a weird story, but I built my resilience and grit growing up. And it was like, you know, this is going to age me a little bit, but there was like no social media, there was no Facebook. And, you know, me and my friends go out on a Saturday night or Saturday during the day, and we would literally go up and down Oxford Street, you know, trying to find like, you know, a girl who would like us. So we'd go up and, you know, someone like, you know, maybe we think, oh, that girl's, you know, she's looking at us, I'm looking at her. I'd go up and say, introduce myself. And for anyone who knows how tough it is to walk up to someone you don't know and try and get their attention, you'll probably realize that 99% of the time we will be getting faced with a fat rejection. So being rejected so many times allowed me to build that tough skin, so that when I came into banking, whatever manager said is not worse than what any girl has ever said to me in the past to tell me no. So that's how I built up my resilience.
And can you give a few examples of resilience within the workplace itself?
Yeah, so resilience in the workplace is simply just being able to learn a job role. Sometimes, and this is what I tell people, sometimes, you know, you have to, it's almost what they call fake it to make it. So I've had times when the manager said, you know, Andrew, I want you to do this task. You know, I want you with a pivot table. I want, you know, this report. And I'm just nodding my head and I'm saying, yeah, I can do it. But as soon as he goes or she goes, I'm literally on YouTube trying to figure out, how do you do a pivot table again? And that may mean me staying till 11 o'clock at night trying to learn. But this is what you have to do in the beginning. So it takes resilience. You need to be hardworking and you just can't give up.
And the same question to you, Rebecca. A few examples of resilience within the workplace for you.
Yeah, I mean, same with Andrew as well, you know, just being able to, you know, when you're given a task, being able to complete it no matter what, and also being able to manage it as well. So I know quite a few of us, can't say no, or we just onboard a lot of work. And sometimes, when we start off early in our careers, it's like we feel a need to, just manage expectations and do our best, even if that means we're overloaded. So sometimes resilience can also mean managing expectations, being able to manage the workload that you do have and pushing through it as well. And a lot of that can also contradict in terms of, your mental state of mind as well. So yeah, being able to push forward and do the work and be proud of what you presented as well.
Wonderful. How much should you disclose to your manager about your mental well-being, do you feel?
I think in this day and age, I think you can be more upfront about it. Like when I first started, I don't think I ever had a discussion with my manager about, how's your mental well-being. I don't think it was just discussed. I think now again you can be, but I guess it's just overcoming the stigma. I think the stigma, and it's a negative stigma, is, like banking is seen to be quite, not aggressive, but, certain type of individual, and you don't want to come across weak. But I think if you hold stuff in, like whether it's in, like you need to find someone to talk to, even if it's not your manager, you need to find somebody to have a conversation with, to tell them how you're feeling.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I do think it is important to disclose to an extent your well-being with your manager. The only reason why I say that is because you don't want to necessarily run into any issues with your manager, or you want to be able to disclose. It doesn't need to be the full extent, but as much as possible, so that way they can understand where you're coming from. And if you do need to take some time off, they will be more accommodating to you because they do understand what's going on with you. But I agree with Andrew that you should also have someone that you can actually speak to, someone that you trust, like a trust partner at work, that you can really, it doesn't even have to be at work to be fair, but you can speak to and you can offload all this information to, even if it's someone in HR, that's confidential, or and I know that they have a few therapists. I know, a lot of people don't like speaking to therapists, but as long as you can communicate to someone in your company, I think, yeah, definitely.
And what is your go-to mechanism for dealing with stress?
I usually listen to music.
Okay.
I usually listen to music when I'm trying to deal with stress, or just go out for a walk and take a breathe, or I just get little things that make me happy. Like there's a little dessert store around my workplace, and I don't, just getting some macaroons or some cakes like that. Those are the sort of things that make me happy and make me less stressed. I know my other work colleagues deal with it in a different way. Like they go to a gym and they let it all out, or they may go jogging, or just a different type of activity. Yeah.
And Andrew?
Yeah, I'm the same. I play basketball on the weekends, so that keeps me going. Before I got married, may have been going out with my boys, going to the clubs. You can see a theme. You can see a theme there. But you need some stress relief. You need some stress relief. You need positive stress relief. So I think what, like Rebecca said, some type of outlet, positive outlet, because it's very easy. Because there's positive outlets and there's negative outlets. I've seen friends turn to drugs and drink. And even though they're working in a professional capacity, they're using those clutches to overcome some of the issues they have. So you want to find positive, like stress release, and not go down a dark route.
Perfect. So our audience are students progressing into progressing their careers in this industry. What mistakes have you seen early on in your career that have impacted your career?
For me, I think it's, and it's going to sound bad because it's almost against well-being, a little bit against well-being. I think for people to focus on work-life balance, like as someone coming into the industry, when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, and you're more focused on, the work-life balance, then actually doing a good job and progressing. So I've had some people that are more focused on, you know, the job is a sideline and their life, obviously, you know, you've got to enjoy your life. But in the financial services in the beginning, you're like, if you put in the hard work now, your future is going to be a lot easier. And I think a lot of people, they don't understand that point. If you put in 2 years of hard work, that's going to open so much doors for you. But a lot of people I meet they're reluctant to do that. And I think that hurts them in the future. Because again, it's all about perception. You want people to perceive you as someone being ready to learn, ready to put the graft in and work hard. So that is some of the mistakes I think some people make.
And same with you, Rebecca. Is there anything that you would have done differently in terms of impacting your career?
Yeah, so I think mainly, I think one of the main things I would have done differently is maybe to have a bit more confidence during the start of my career, because I entered quite young. You know, it's natural for you to lack confidence because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know if what you're going to do is ever going to be right. But I would have definitely had a lot more confidence in what I was doing and the output I was given, because it was great. And, you know, it's actually what led me into keeping my job and, you know, actually being or creating an impact in the company that I'm currently at now. So I would have said have more confidence in myself and been more resilient. Yeah.
And do you think there's more pressure on Black professionals or students to not fail?
Definitely, 100%, especially if you're coming from like an Afro-Caribbean background. You are going to have more pressure because there's this expectation that you need to outperform your peers. There's also an expectation that, you know, say you're the first generation to even work in a professional environment, there's an expectation for you to assist with the family and help make ends meet, and, you know, be seen as some sort of hero or some sort of person that, you know, they need to go in and they just need to 100% succeed. So I do feel like there is a lot of pressure from different angles, you know, angles of pressure of your family, and then also your work colleagues as well, because they will also have expectations as a young Black person that's entering the industry as well. So you also have pressure from that angle.
Same with you, Andrew?
I might say something quite controversial, which I don't think there's any added pressure. And this is me, like, you know, being 100% honest about how I feel. Because I think going into banking or going into the financial services is a very, very niche market, and there's only so many jobs, so it's very competitive. So I think everyone who enters that field is going to have pressure on them. Like Rebecca said, there is added pressure. But I think, again, one of the mistakes that I made is thinking too much about that pressure. So that hindered me actually. You know, like if you go into an industry and you're thinking the whole world's going to be against me, you know, there's going to be racism, it's hard for me to succeed. Like you're already almost mentally accepting that, oh, you know, I'm not going to succeed in this industry. Whereas if you go into it thinking, you know what, there's no pressure on me, I'm going to go and do my best, you're going to have, your mindset's going to be a lot more freer, and you're going to go in, I personally think, without the weight of all that pressure. So I think there's the same pressure across the board, and you're going to get rewarded on how good you are. So if you focus on that, that could help you along your path.
Okay. Do you think the industry is more conscious of well-being now, or was it just something to make the company look good?
I think it's definitely more conscious of well-being. I mean, of well-being. The nuances of well-being, I think, is something that is, well-being is broad. Well-being is broad, and I think the well-being of a Black employee may be different from a well-being of someone who's dealing with their sexual orientation versus someone who is from a lower socioeconomic background. So I think everyone's well-being is different. And I think firms, like, they're at the first stage of just thinking of well-being for everyone. I think the next level up is actually digging deep into what is the well-being for our different subgroups within the firm. So I think it's a lot better. But I think when, like, you know, not treating everyone the same and thinking that everyone have different well-being concerns will be the next level up.
Same question to you, Rebecca.
Yeah, I definitely do think companies are more conscious of well-being. I think they realize that the industry is built on people, and that a happy staff and them having a happy life actually overall contributes to the company in terms of, better work ethics and, better results. So I do think, whether that's a good or bad thing is another question, but I do think they are more conscious of the well-being of the people that they work for, by adding benefits and allowing people to take more time off. And I think during this COVID period, it's just increased a lot more in terms of flexible working and being able to work from home. So yeah, definitely would agree with that.
So following on from your COVID statement, COVID has forced everyone to deal with change and adapt to a new way of life. How has this impacted you personally? And have there been any positive changes that have come about because of it?
Yeah, so I think how it's impacted me personally is that I now, I wouldn't say before I didn't have a work-life balance, but I think now even more than ever, it helped with my work-life balance in terms of, being able to work from home and being able to connect with, my family and my friends. And even though we were in COVID, it did allow me to take some time off to reflect on me and myself and what I wanted for my future as well.
Right.
And I think that's one of the main effects from COVID. And I think going forward as well, it just means a bit more flexible working, which is great and good. And I do know that some companies don't agree with it, especially people that are younger in their careers, because I think they have the expectation that they don't have any kids. There's no need for them to do flexible working. But I think flexible working helps with your mindset and your well-being. You don't need to have kids to be offered flexible working.
For sure. And Andrew, any positive changes due to, working from home, COVID?
Absolutely. I was able to reconnect with my wife and my son, and, and COVID, like they said, lockdown love is real. I was able to have a baby.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So my daughter is 3 months old. So yeah, loads of negatives in the world, but for me, there was I had many positive outcomes for me and my family.
Wonderful. And Andrew, I know you've had a book that came out last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Would you like to just explain a bit more about the book, what it means?
Yes. So the book was around, okay, how do I, got many years of experience in different affairs, and then how do I help young people with, trying to break into industries or get their dream job? So my book is called, How My Disastrous Teenage Love Life Will Help You Get Your Dream Job. And it's like I said in the beginning, it's all around my lessons I learned, on the streets of London, being rejected by many, 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 many girls as I was growing up, and what I learned from different rejections. So I learned things like, you need to improve your communication. When I walked up to a girl in the beginning, I was stuttering, I was stammering, I was nervous. So you need to work on your communication, your confidence, how you dress, how you come about. You need to have a story. The first 10 seconds is important. So, similar to the interview, if your introduction is not captivating, then you're not going to get any interest. So loads of things like that. So I wanted to share practical things, but funny things as well to help people. And I've got, loads of life lessons. And I share my journey of how I went from banking into TV and all the practical things I've learned along the way.
No worries. So one of the chapters of your book is called How to Be More Confident. How important is confidence? How do you build on it? And how important is it for resilience? Yeah,
confidence is everything. From your handshake, from your eye contact, how you look, how you carry yourself, whether you're slumped in your chair. People want to believe in you. But if you come in, you're mumbling, you're not even sure of your answers, you answer your answers lack confidence, then how can you get someone to hire you? So how you develop this is, by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. We've all got that one thing that we think, oh my God, I can't do it. for me, it was public speaking. I felt, growing up, I hated being put on the spot.
Guilty.
yeah, and it was only until it got so bad that I knew that I needed to take action. So I joined a public speaking organization called Toastmasters, where every 2 weeks you go and you practice your public speaking in front of random strangers. And that allowed me to learn the art of public speaking, because it is an art. And that helped me to get better. So, on webinars like this, I can talk. But many years ago, I couldn't do this. So again, the book helps you identify your weakness, whatever that weakness is, and work on you overcoming it and getting better.
Rebecca, have you got anything to add in terms of confidence?
Yes, I mean, in terms of confidence, I think confidence is something that grows and also grows based on the person. So with me personally, my confidence grew as I started to clean myself up a bit more, so in terms of my knowledge and preparation, and just having the faith that I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about. I think when you really prepare yourself and when you really understand something, it actually allows you to just be more confident naturally, like it just does. So I think being sure of who you are, being sure of what you can bring to the table, and being very sure of what you offer just allows you to automatically be more confident.
Perfect. And Andrew, another chapter of your book, Practice, Review, Repeat, where you talk about not focusing on the no, focusing on earning the yes. How easy is this to do in practice?
Very easy, very, very easy, very easy. And again, it's going to sound really, people are going to think this girl, or all this guy thinks is girls, but, you practice, review and repeat. So, I'll go out, Oxford Street, walk around and, get my rejections, but then me and my friends would take notes. They're like, Andrew, like the girl said, you smell. So I have to go and buy aftershave so I can smell better. Maybe your breath stinks. Okay, I need to work on that. You wasn't confident enough. Practice your confidence. So you need to, same with interviews. So you need to apply to as many interviews as possible. Get the feedback. Some firms don't give feedback, but you need to be critical of yourself. How did you feel when you gave that answer? Could you have answered it better? How did you come across? Did you turn up late? How was your handshake? How was your introduction? Review yourself, practice, review, and then go back again. All they can say is no. And that's all it is. Sometimes it is hurtful, if you're desperate for a job, but the more you practice, the more you get better at your interview technique. Find mentors. If you're really struggling with your interview, find mentors who can be honest with you and tell you what you need to work on with your interview technique. And I guarantee you will get better.
So I've got a question within the Q&A, and it's Andrew, why did you leave banking? Was it a pivot in your career? Can you share the skills needed to do this successfully?
Yeah, no, really good question. So, all right, so to give you a bit of background about me, so I grew up in Southeast London, grew up in Peckham, and never ever would have expected to be in banking. So got a job as an FX forward trader for RBS. Had 5 great years, 2 years in New York where, all expense paid, lived in an apartment in Manhattan, really lived a life. And came back to the UK, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, got called into the office, and they said, "Andrew, you're fired." Right. I was like, "Oh my God!" What am I going to tell my friends? Everyone knows me as Andrew the banker. Got money and stuff, and now I'm fired. And that was a wake-up call for me. In particular, one, thinking about, okay, what do I want to do with my career, and 2, thinking about how cutthroat the industry is, so that when you are in the industry, you need to make an impact so that whether or not you lose your job, you're able to move to another job really quickly. And for me, as I was in that process of interviewing with other firms, I thought to myself, I've always had a passion for TV and business. Let me try and do something for 6 months. And that 6 months turned into 8 years. That's how much I enjoyed it. But yeah, I took a leap of faith. And this is my second point is sometimes I think, like, as young people get siloed and think I can only be an accountant and that's it, or I can only be a lawyer. But the skills you learn in all different aspects of your career, you can take to a completely another profession and excel in it. So any young person, like, listening today, just think, let me start off my career, do a really good job. And if I do a good job, it's going to open doors for me in the future. I don't know what it is, but it's going to open doors for me. And that's what's happened throughout my career. Just by focusing on doing good work, doors have opened. Yeah, so it wasn't something I planned. Like, I wish I would say, I planned it. I got pushed into it, but, I seized the opportunity and made the best out of it to make it a success.
And I've got another question here in the Q&A. Andrew, you mentioned limited places in this industry and that is competitive. How can students stand out?
Yes, you can stand out by two things. So stand out by having a personality and a unique story. So I think what affects a lot of people, which is, so you can imagine this. If I'm an interviewer and I'm interviewing 20 people in one day, if you say the same generic things, I'm a hardworking, I have attention to detail, it's very hard for you to stand out. And what many people from, either Black heritage background or underprivileged background do is they dismiss their own story and they only focus on the things they think are corporate. And it was only onto when I got loads of rejections at interviews because I was saying, I read the FT every day. I want to be a banker. It was only until I said in one interview, I said, what, let me just be honest. And the guy said, why do you think you'll be a good trader? And I said to him, because I'm a fantastic DJ. I DJ at nightclubs all throughout London. And it was like, tell me, why is that relevant? I was like, the skills as a DJ is like, you have to be watching the crowd at all times. You have to make sure that the crowd is pumped up. And, if you don't do a good job, you get sacked. And that's the same as being a trader. And we just started to have a conversation about different music genres. And before you knew it, he was like, look, there's something about you I like. I'm gonna let you know now, you're hired. And it was because I was able to share my story and be unique. So that's number one. So you focus on standing out by like refining your story so that it makes anyone who speaks to you curious about having you on their team. And the second thing is obviously making sure that you study the thing you're going into. So if you're going into a job that it needs you to be commercially aware, make sure you've studied and you've done your research. There's loads of YouTube videos you can watch. There's no excuse. You can't say, oh, it's because I go to this university, that's why I don't have access, or I'm not as good as this person. But everything is out there online for free now. So there's no excuse. So doing your research before you attend the interview, but also focusing on making sure your personality stands out.
Rebecca, do you have anything to add in how a student can stand out to an employer?
Yeah, so I think, like Andrew said, just being honest, being yourself, being able to be transparent as well, because I think a lot of employers can tell when you're not being 100% with them. So I think being able to stand out and just own your differentness, just own who you are. Just if you are different, just bring that to the table, and a lot of people would appreciate honesty and transparency. Yeah.
Another question that we've had that's come in: how can a student get feedback on why they are being rejected? Not all employees give this.
I would say to get feedback, you need to message and email them. So even if it's through a recruiter or the company, just be like, thank you, can I get some feedback on how the interview went? And a lot of places usually do provide feedback and should provide feedback on, interview practices. But I wouldn't say let the rejection, now hinder you. Use the points that they've given you, work on it and build on it, and then take it to your next interview. And every point they come back saying, work on this, continue to work on it. And by the time, you know, you would have noticed that, you know, you're a lot more confident in your interviews and you're starting to get more like to the next level. But yeah, I would definitely say email them, pester them about feedback and find out what it is that, you know, maybe didn't allow you to get the role.
Andrew?
Yeah, no, I love that advice. Like, definitely with firms, like do that with firms, but also do that with people that interview you or give you mock interviews. And I've got a technique that I use. If you ask someone so how did it go? You know, people being like, you know, polite will say, it went well, it went okay. No one really likes to offend people, even if they were like, you know what, that was awful. No one wants to say like, you have no chance of getting into the industry. It's like, you know, people feel like, you know, that would be too harsh. Right. So instead of asking for how do I do, I tell people to say like, what 3 things can I improve? So if you ask what 3 things I can improve, then you like, so you've given someone a license to be a bit more critical. Okay, you need to work on your communication, you need to work on your knowledge, you need to work on your delivery, rather than how did I do? How did I do is like someone, you cook someone some food, and you say, yeah, how did it taste? You don't want to be rude, you know, even if you hated that food. So, but if you say, you know, how did, like, what 3 things can I do to improve that stew? Then you say, maybe you could add a bit more salt, you know, the seasoning. So it's just a way of doing it. I think, you know, focus on, you know, how can I improve? And I think people will be more honest with you.
Can you both share any experiences of rejection and how you bounced back?
Trying to think. I think during when I first started, so before I started working, I was at like an apprenticeship college. So I think how it is in stages. So my first point of rejection was probably like around my A-levels. I didn't get what I wanted. Then I was just like, oh, like, what am I going to do? Then I got to the apprenticeship college. And then once you pass certain levels, then you start applying for different roles. And I kept on getting rejected. I wasn't getting the roles. And I was really worried that, you know, if this doesn't go through for me, like there's no other option. I'm just going to end up working or just doing something I don't want to do, because really and truly, if I don't get an apprenticeship, that's it. In my eyes, I was it, because I didn't go to university and the apprenticeship was the only role. And I was getting rejected many times, but I think what I took from that was to, like I said before, was to heed the advice and work on the points that you know, a lot of people said as to why I got rejected, you know, whether that's lack of communication or lack of knowledge, or which I think is really annoying, because when you're first entering the industry, you're not going to have a lot of knowledge or prior experience. But you know, whether it was lack of knowledge or lack of prior experience, or, you know, not being or hitting the requirements for the role. So what I could do to level myself up, whether that was to continue with the course I was doing or just continue to work on points. And I got my friends to help me work on interview questions. So I wouldn't say take rejection and, you know, don't let it take over you. When you get it, just work on it and continue to push it. And then I ended up finding a role in one of the biggest asset manager companies in the world. So I think just keep pushing and just keep using the failure as a reason to succeed even more. Yeah.
Andrew?
Yeah, I've been rejected so many times in my life. Like, I mean, one of my biggest rejections is, you know, I created, you know, went to people I knew, I raised over £100,000. I created a TV series. And then I went to the likes of the BBC, Sky, and said, you know what, please, can you buy my TV series? And everyone said no. But because, like I said, going back to my training or being rejected by girls back in the day, I was ready for it. And I know it took many years, but, you know, we was able to sell the show around the world and, you know, have the show end up on Netflix. So, you know, you take that rejection, but like Rebecca says, you get the feedback why, and you just work on getting better. So that's why what I've learned is yeah, a rejection, don't focus on the no, but focus on earning the yes.
Before your show was on Netflix, wasn't it on mainstream TV?
No, not mainstream.
Not at all.
No, mainstream TV around the world. So we've sold it around the world, but never in the UK.
Okay, no problem. And I've got another question here. Do students join initiatives such as Rare Recruitment, 10,000 Black Interns, and SEO in order to get their foot into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Why not? Why not? What have you got to lose? These firms are out there to help students coming from underrepresented backgrounds. So you take as much help as you can. What a lot of these firms do, they're trying to level the playing field in terms of students who have access and students who don't have access.
Mm-hmm.
So these firms, they have insight days, insight events, networking events with firms. So take as much help as you can, but go into it with a mindset that, look, I am going to impress. So I've seen students come in and their level of, they come into these opportunities that, I wish I would have died for, but they're not networking with anyone. They're just on webinars like this, not interacting. So they're getting all these opportunities, but not taking as much advantage of it. And then I've seen some people come in with such strong hustle. I've seen a guy sneak into an event. He wasn't even allowed to be at the event, but he snuck in and made such an impression that, he had the recruiters dying to give him an opportunity. So seize opportunities, but make sure you stand out and make an impression when you get given them.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I agree with Andrew's point, seize opportunities and just go for it. I don't think taking no for an answer, sometimes take the no, but sometimes when they say no, just go forward and push, because people just say no because it's their default. They don't want to say yes, but.
And if you didn't get into your apprenticeship, would this still be the industry that you try to work in?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think because at that, I think I've grown a lot, but I was really adamant that it was finance that I work in. And I don't really know why. I think because of what was exposed to me. So when I went to maybe in secondary school, a company that I didn't know just came and I was like, oh yeah, it's an industry that I'm interested in and I like numbers. So finance was always the go-to one for me. So by all means, or by any means necessary, I found a way to get in, even though it wasn't through the traditional route. So 5 years ago, everyone was doing the internships, the 1 year placement in a bank, and then you go and then you get accepted all these programs. And I'm thinking, if I was back then, would I actually be in finance? I think I took the best route for myself.
Right.
And I thought the good fight for myself to get what I needed to get to, because I don't think I would be here if I went to university, if I'm being very honest with you. If I had gone to university, I don't think I'd be in the same position that I am in now.
Fair enough. So there is a stigma surrounding mental health in the Black community. What more can we all do to make things better?
I think to make things better, I guess, focus on you, focus on yourself, especially, there's that saying, especially when you're on a plane, when they say, if the plane's about to crash and oxygen comes down from the sky, make sure you put your own oxygen on first before you can help other people. And I think what happens many times is that people are helping so much that their oxygen runs out. So, you focus on, whenever you're feeling a bit low, focus on getting yourself back together. And then you can help other people, rather than always trying to keep up this public persona of being strong and, being there for everyone. Sometimes you just need to take some time out for yourself.
For sure.
So I say focus on yourself when you need to take that time out.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Andrew more, because I think there is a stigma about, mental health in the Black community. And I think when you focus on yourself, then other people follow. I spoke to someone recently and they said until they, went to go seek help from themselves and they suggested it to someone else, then they start going to therapy. And for a long time, maybe 10 years, he's been needing to go and he didn't go until he saw his friend do it. So sometimes when you focus on yourself and when you do what you need to do for yourself, it actually ends up helping others more than you expect it to, rather than just saying, oh, go do it and go. I suggest that you speak to a therapist and that. Sometimes action does speak louder than words. So when you can find people on a more relatable subject, then 100% it's going to affect people and allow people to seek help via you. Yeah.
No worries. So I just got a couple of more questions and then we can wrap this up for the evening. What sort of things can I do at university to get me ready for the financial services industry?
I think you can do like a few things. One, you can be part of the finance societies that exist, so start hanging out with like-minded people who want the same type of goals that you want. So finance society, banking society, investing society, whatever those societies are, make sure that you do that. Then also, and this is especially, I think, prevalent for students who come from a certain area and background and just hang out with the same type of people, is you can join societies where people like you don't exist. So, for example, what I mean by that is because the financial industry is very diverse. I remember growing up, all I just hanged out with was just people that grew up in Southeast London. Like one track, that was all I grew up. So I talked how they talked, I dressed how they dressed, went to the same clubs like they went to. Mm-hmm. But when I went to start in banking, I realized people don't go to those type of clubs that I go to. They go to the pub. And I was like a fish out of water because I never went to the pub. But then if I had hanged out with different people at university and there was loads of societies, then I would have been able to adapt and assimilate myself a lot quicker. And I think a lot of people, we bring it on ourselves because we just want to be comfortable with our comfortable friends, comfortable things that we feel are comfortable. And if you don't stretch yourself at university and get out of the comfort zone, you'll find that you'll be put in you'll be in an uncomfortable situation when you start work. So making sure that you join the finance societies, but also join societies that don't have anyone that looks like you and talks like you.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I also think that, if you say you want to go into finance, like I know a lot of people say read this and read the Financial Times, but it's so hard for people to tell you read, and it's like wherever or you're actually going to read. But I do think if you are interested in finance, do create a LinkedIn platform and start to produce or write things that you find interesting that's happened in the finance industry. So whether that's a report or, like Andrew said, join a club or society, and in that society, create a platform where you produce reports or you just talk about finance or something that's changed in finance. That way it just shows your interest. I find that that's really helpful as well, and just being able to understand the finance industry. And also back to Andrew's point that, you need to take yourself out of the comfort zone now, because when you do enter the place of work, it's going to be a complete shift of environment if you're not used to it. Something as small as maybe like not just being able to, like, your holidays, or it's not like you're going to get 6 weeks like you do when you're in university. So being able to adjust to these changes, and I think what would help you, do internships, speak to societies and get in there. Yeah.
So final question, do you have any regrets and any final words for the students before we wrap up?
No regrets actually. I think life is a journey. You got to have fun with life. And I think I've been able to do that. So no regrets. I learned from every setback. So there are setbacks, but I don't have any regrets. And my word of advice is just focus on those things. You focus on like the outcomes of what you want to get. If you want to get into the financial industry, you need to be hanging out with people who want to get into the financial industry. You need to be researching about the financial industry. And you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And like lastly, not focusing on any rejections, because you are going to get rejected, but focus on how do I get to the next level and how do I earn my yes.
Wonderful. Rebecca?
Yeah. Like Andrew said, no regrets. I think I made the best decision for myself and for my life. And if I was to go back and make this decision again, I probably would. I definitely would make the same decision again. So I definitely have no regrets. I just learned from any mistakes I had, and it's just made me stronger. So no regrets at all.
Thank you. So thank you to both for taking the time out this evening. We'll catch everyone else on the next In Circle mentoring session. Good night.
Great. Thank you for having me.
No
Have a
worries.
good
Thank
one.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.